Oof. Ew. In the mood for a ramble. Um, just had a big stinking vindaloo shit, and I was sitting in there reading Life, Keith Richards' autobiography, co-written with James Fox, and James Fox actually makes Keith sound lucid in this book. You can hear the Keith bits all through it. The defensive, I'm a tough guy, don't mess with me, I'm a junkie, even though I never shot up, yeah. But it comes across as if Keith had, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I tend to keep rereading the first two or three chapters before the Stones actually got famous, and it's incredibly interesting reading. It never fails to just constantly just love it. It's like what set this off was that I saw something on this computer today where it said the Stones were being sued for plagiarism. Now we'll get to that in a minute, but the thing is, they've done it since the dawn of time. I mean, there are no copyrights, there's no legalese regarding music before the Industrial Revolution, or maybe not until the 20th century, I'm not quite sure. But it's like, most of Beethoven's beautiful melodies are just folk songs, and it's not just him, it's Tchaikovsky and all of the great classical composers took, like Bob Dylan, he's never written a written melody in his life. He just takes a melody from an old Scottish, Irish, English ballad and just puts words to it. He doesn't get sued, you know what I mean? And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it is. And so I don't know who it is or who's suing them, but fair enough. They're so rich, whoever it is. I hope they win. But I was just rereading it again. I'm quite fanatical about it at the moment, and because I know they're all going to die soon, just as well as I will as well soon. And just trying to figure out where it all came from, and there's no doubt that Keith is sustained. That's it, really. And when you think about it, the whole Stones' early career was based on ripping off old blues tunes. But then when you read his autobiography, even Robert Johnson, the so-called genius, he calls him as good as Bach. Well, let's put it this way: if I had to sit down and listen to J.S. Bach, and what was that guy I just said? The one Robert Johnson. If I had to sit down and listen to that, I would leave the room. I'd rather hear madness or magazine or something that's got life and vibrancy about it, not some clinical exercise in mathematics, which is Bach, and some sort of sexless, even though he wasn't sexless in real life, but some sort of sexless. There are many, many, many blues 78s that are far better than Robert Johnson. Anyway, the video is running out of time. It's very, very interesting, and I highly recommend getting his book Life. It's great. I mean, it's not. It is him, but it's not really because it's too well written. It's brilliant stuff. But it's reading reading between the lines, and an only child that never, that his first band becomes his family, and it's been his family for his whole life since the age of 20. He's about 80 now. So you can see why. Anyway, to cut to the chase, I was thinking about, yes, I heard their first singles. You know, the first one, a cover of Buddy Holly, wasn't it? Whatever it was pretty piss weak. Just like the first Beatles single was piss weak. But then their second one was actually a Beatles, Lennon McCartney song, I Want to Be a Man. And it was just like, not Fade Away, Buddy Holly track was their first. And then they did Want to Be a Man. And oh my God, it just slaughtered the Beatles' pathetic effort. And having Ringo sing it didn't help. And I thought, oh my goodness, there's something going on here. And then I think it's their third single. Don't argue with me about it. It's the third one I remember, and I'll never forget it. I was in the Shell station up at Guyamere. We were getting fueling up the car. I just begged Dad to get the Beatles, a free Beatles picture that you got if you spent a certain amount. In those days it was pounds, shillings and pence, LSD. And I got the picture and I went, oh shit, the Beatles just look so square. They look like they were diseased or something, you know, like suffering from consumption or something. And it was just awful. They just looked so shit. And I was so disappointed. But I remember this as clear as a bell. And as we drove out in our 1962 Ford Falcon, made in Australia, it came on the radio. It's All Over Now, the Rolling Stones. My God, listen to it. You young people that ride off the Stones, yes, 99% of their stuff shit after 1971. We all know that, 72. And if you've never heard their version of It's All Over Now, not It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, Bob Dylan, but It's All Over Now. I think it's Womack and Womack. And I think I went back and heard their original and it's just nothing. But it's the first time that the guitars out of a tinny AM radio, the guitar riff just came out so strong. This is before Satisfaction, before the last time. This is like at least a year before Satisfaction, I would think. And it was the guitar, that twin guitar thing with Brian Jones and Keith Richards, and it's really Keith doing the heavy downstrokes on that. It was like woof. It was almost like heavy metal, you know, which is an idiotic term because, you know, if you turn it up loud enough, anything's heavy metal. You know what I mean. I'm old enough to just say it's all shit. It's all nonsense. Everything's silly. But the thing is, it just came to me reading that, and I thought, yeah, they were just copyists, and they continued to do blues covers badly, very, very badly, and their early self-written songs were atrocious, really embarrassing and unbelievably awful. But there was something about that guitar sound that it's just these three chords. I'm not a musician, but it just goes dun, 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 diddle-ding, diddle-ding. And then it goes blang, blang. This was so heavy. You have no idea, youngsters, what that sounded like in 1964. You have no idea. It was so fucking heavy. And yeah, so I just had to do it. What else? A shout out to Dick, Bob Boom and Davey Strangename. What a wonderful, I tell you, Davey Strangename, man. If he those videos he's been making, if he put those out as 45s, and I could afford to buy them, I'd fucking buy every one of them. They are excellent. I love that Tainted Love one, and that one yesterday or today with John Bob Boom. It was just so cool. It's great shit. It's so good. It keeps me hanging on, as they say. Well, I've got a couple more minutes. Yeah, but you just can't. If you weren't around in '64, I was 13, and you can't. If you weren't around then, you cannot imagine. Okay, sure, there were heavy guitar tracks before that, but this was so unusual in that it was a big release from a band that only put out a couple of singles and one album, if that, and they were already famous. This was so. If you had to be there to understand what I'm talking about, and they never really they never really played that heavy again until Satisfaction. And my favourite Stones track of all time, I think I've got 7 or 8 copies on 45, is Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby, Standing in the Shadow? That is just unbelievable. That came out in '67. Jesus. If you've never really listened to it, listen to it. Get the mono singles if you can. It's a mess sonically. It's just noise, but it is brutal, and it is. The Stones really, really were. They they had it. I'll tell you, not all the time, but when they did, before Jagger became really airy fairy and became, I mean. Anyway, I guess I better go now. So that's that.